I need a legacy, Martha. I need a son. And you just couldn't give me that." Those were the words my husband of 25 years said to me as he packed his bags. He wasn't just leaving me, he was replacing me. Waiting in the car outside was Tiffany, a 23-year-old yoga instructor who was, according to him, carrying his miracle child. He looked at me with pity. He thought I was a broken, barren woman, but as I watched him drive away to start his new family, I didn't cry. I smiled. Because there was one tiny medical detail from 1999 that my husband had forgotten, or rather one detail I had never had the heart to tell him to protect his fragile ego. He wasn't leaving to have a son. He was leaving to raise another man's child, because my husband is sterile. My name is Martha Stone, and this is the story of how I let my husband destroy his own life. Simply by telling him the truth he refused to believe. To understand the end, we have to go back to the beginning. I married Richard when we were both in our 20s. We built a construction empire from scratch. I handled the books, he handled the sites. We were a power couple. But there was always one shadow over our marriage: children. Richard was obsessed with his bloodline. He came from a family of men who prided themselves on passing down their name. We tried for years, month after month of negative tests. Richard became cold. He started making comments at dinner parties. Well, if Martha's machinery worked, we'd have a little league team by now. Everyone laughed. I forced a smile. But inside, I was dying. What Richard didn't know, what he never bothered to ask, was that I had gone to a specialist years ago. I was perfectly healthy. I was fertile. The doctor had asked to see Richard. I remember that day clearly. Richard refused to go. "I'm a man, Martha. Everything works fine down here. The problem is you." So I secretly took a sample of his, without him knowing. I needed to know. The doctor called me a week later. "Mrs. Stone, your husband has a condition called azoospermia. His count is 0. It is biologically impossible for him to father a child naturally." I held that phone, tears streaming down my face. I had a choice. I could tell him the truth and crush his manhood, shatter his ego. Or I could carry the burden myself. I loved him. I foolishly, stupidly loved him. So I let him believe it was me. I let him blame me for 20 years because I thought that was what a good wife did. I protected him. And how did he repay me? On our 25th anniversary, Richard sat me down. "Martha, I want a divorce." He didn't even look sad. He looked proud. "I met someone," he said, puffing out his chest. "Her name is Tiffany. She's young. She's vibrant. And," he paused for dramatic effect, "she's pregnant. It's a boy." My heart stopped. Not because I was jealous, but because I was shocked by the sheer biological impossibility of it. "Pregnant?" I asked calmly. "Are you sure it's yours?" Richard slammed his hand on the table. "Don't be jealous, Martha. Just because you couldn't do your one job as a woman, don't cast doubt on her. Of course it's mine. We've been together for 6 months." "6 months," I repeated. "And she's already pregnant?" "She's fertile," he sneered. "Unlike some people, I'm finally going to be a father. I'm finally going to have my legacy." He handed me the papers. "I'm being generous. You get the lake house. I keep the company and the main estate. I need the assets to raise my son." He was taking my business, the business I built. "And one more thing," he added. "Tiffany wants a big wedding. So I need you to move out by the weekend. We're hosting a gender reveal party here next Saturday. It's important for my image." He was kicking me out of my own home to host a party for his mistress and her baby. Something inside me snapped. The love I had held onto for 20 years evaporated. "Okay," I said softly. "Okay?" He looked surprised. "Yes, you can have the house, you can have the party. I'll just pack my personal things and leave." Richard grinned. "I knew you'd be reasonable. You always knew this day would come." I spent the next 3 days packing, but I wasn't just packing clothes. I was digging through old boxes in the attic. I was looking for a specific file folder from Dr. Henderson's clinic, dated May 14, 1999. I found it, yellowed with age, but the ink was clear. Patient, Richard Stone. Diagnosis, sterile. Count, 0. I made copies, lots of copies, and then I waited. The day of the gender reveal party arrived. I wasn't invited, of course, but I still owned 50% of the house and my name was on the deed. I parked my car down the street and walked up to the front door. I could hear the music. I saw the blue balloons everywhere. "It's a boy!" Banners were draped over the porch I had painted. Richard was in the center of the lawn holding a microphone. Tiffany was standing next to him, rubbing her small bump, looking smug. She was wearing a tight white dress. She looked beautiful, I'll give her that, and she looked guilty. "Friends, family!" Richard boomed, his face red with excitement. For years, I thought my line would end with me. I thought I was cursed with a wife who couldn't give me what a man needs. The crowd chuckled nervously. He was publicly shaming me, even when I wasn't there. "But today," he shouted, "today I prove that I am a man. Tiffany has given me the greatest gift, a son." Everyone cheered. Richard popped a giant balloon, and blue confetti rained down. "A son," he yelled, hugging Tiffany. "A stone heir." That was my cue. I walked through the gate. The crowd parted. Silence rippled through the yard as people noticed the ex-wife walking toward the happy couple. "Martha!" Richard frowned. "What are you doing here? You're ruining the moment." "I'm here to give you a gift, Richard," I said, my voice calm and steady. I was holding a beautifully wrapped box. Tiffany looked nervous. "We don't want your bad energy here," she hissed. "It's not bad energy," I smiled. "It's family history. Since you're so obsessed with legacy, Richard, I thought you should have this." I handed him the box. "What is this?" he asked, suspicious. "Open it. Read it to everyone. It's about your biology." Richard laughed. "Is this a desperate attempt to claim you were fertile?" "It's too late, Martha." He tore open the box. He pulled out the framed document. He squinted at it. "Dr. Henderson, fertility analysis." He stopped. His face went pale, then gray, then a color I had never seen before. "Read it, Richard," I commanded. My voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the silence like a knife. I don't understand," he stammered. "Read the diagnosis." Richard's hand started shaking. Diagnosis: azoospermia, sperm count, 0. He looked up at me, his eyes wide with terror. "What is this?" "That is the test I ran 20 years ago," I said, loud enough for the back row to hear. "I didn't tell you because I loved you. I wanted to protect your ego. I let you blame me for 20 years. I let you tell everyone I was the barren one." I took a step closer to him. "But you, Richard, you were born sterile. You have never been able to father a child. You never will be able to father a child." The silence in the yard was deafening. A pin could have dropped and sounded like a cannon. Slowly, every head turned toward Tiffany. Tiffany was freezing. Her hand dropped from her belly. She looked like a deer in headlights. Richard turned to her slowly. The realization was washing over him. The math, the biology, the lie. Tiffany, he whispered. Whose baby is this? It's yours, baby. She's lying, Tiffany screamed, her voice cracking. She's just a jealous old hag. She forged that paper. It's a certified medical record, I said calmly. Call Dr. Henderson. He's still practicing, or better yet, let's do a prenatal paternity test right now. I'm sure Richard would love to know who the real father of his legacy is. Richard looked at the paper again, then at Tiffany. You told me I was your first, Richard said, his voice trembling. Tiffany burst into tears. He was just a guy from the gym. It meant nothing. Richard, please, you have money. You can raise him as yours. Who cares about DNA? The crowd gasped. It was the confession everyone needed. Richard dropped the microphone. He looked destroyed. The man who prided himself on his virility, on his bloodline, had been played for a fool by a girl young enough to be his daughter. He looked at me. Martha, Don't, I said. You wanted a younger woman. You wanted a son. Now you know the truth. You can't have one, and she belongs to someone else. I turned to the crowd. Enjoy the cake. I paid for it. I walked away. I didn't look back, but I heard the screaming start. I heard Tiffany yelling. I heard Richard throwing things. I got into my car and drove, straight to my lawyer's office. The divorce was brutal, but not for me. Richard was a broken man. He didn't fight me for the company. He didn't fight me for the house. He was too busy dealing with the humiliation. The video of the party had gone viral in our town. Everyone knew. It turns out Tiffany's baby belonged to her ex-boyfriend, a barista who had no money. As soon as Richard cut her off financially, she disappeared. Richard tried to call me a month later. He was drunk. Martha, he slurred. I made a mistake. Please, we can fix this. We can adopt. I hung up. I took half the assets. I sold my share of the company to a competitor for a fortune. I kept the house, sanitized it, and sold it for double the price. I moved to Italy. I bought a vineyard. I met a man named Alessandro. He doesn't care about legacies or bloodlines. He cares about me. Sometimes I think about Richard. I hear he's living in a small apartment, alone. He spends his days telling anyone who will listen that he was tricked. But he wasn't tricked. He was just a man who forgot that loyalty is worth more than legacy. He wanted a son so badly, he lost the only family he ever really had. And me? I finally have the one thing I always wanted: peace. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments. Do you think I should have told him the truth sooner, or did he deserve to find out the hard way? I read every single comment. See you in the next story.